Okay, now we're gonna turn and face the current. And now we're on the other method of approach here in Big Sky Country, in Yellowstone Country. This is casting upstream. These are slack generating drifts. When I land my fly, I could land it as tight as imaginable, and it's gonna generate slack as it comes toward me. So first and foremost, whatever happens here, I wanna make sure that whatever is coming to my line of scrimmage right here across the river, I'm collecting that slack as the river is delivering it to me. If I fall behind, I'm going to be out of control and I'll increase the drag on the system. If I'm too fast, I'll also increase that drag. So at its very most basic, we're going to make a shot looking upstream. I've just placed that fly over a rising fish and now I'm collecting the slack. You can see the leader, the line off of the tip of the rod down to the water, that should be vertical. That shouldn't be falling back like it is now. That I'm not keeping up. If I need to, I'll get that rod right over that point and clean it right up. Right? Keep that rod tip dynamic. If I'm going to start pulling it too fast, I'm going to have the opposite effect. And now I'm pulling faster than the river is delivering it to me, and I'm just stripping my fly downstream. Well, that's pretty fun if you're fishing a mouse or a popper or a streamer, but for a dead drifted fly, that's not going to work either. So a lot of times when you're thinking about how to approach a fish, some of the factors that make me consider when would I cast upstream to a fish, when would I want my leader to land over the top of a fish and have the fly come over him last. One is if I have an upstream wind, so the wind's behind me anyway, it's going to be a struggle for me to fish down and across into a fish. I might just sneak up right behind him and fish upstream to that target. Now the disadvantage of that is my line is going to land tight. So again, I might need a way to generate some kind of slack in that system to free up the leader right when I first land. There's plenty of imperfections in the currents around here. Less than what's right in front of me, but a lot more when you get around boulders and the architecture of a slick and the currents in and around a boulder. So I'll talk about a couple basics. Fishing upstream, let's say I'm casting right up into the top of a slick, kind of in the eddy, and where I really need that slack is to be up in the leader, right? So I'm gonna try to pile that fly in there, and all I'm trying to do is get that turnover a little bit higher up. So I've tipped my casting plane skyward just a little bit, and I'm gonna drop the rod tip right down with it, trying to generate that slack between the fly line and the fly. Now, we use the pile cast on the downstream shot. Why not, the bounce cast on a downstream cast. Why wouldn't we use a bounce cast on an upstream cast? Well, now I've landed with a bunch of extra slack that I've got to catch up to before I'm actually in control. So this is not an appropriate place to use the bounce cast like we're using in the downstream presentation. It is a good place to use a pile cast. It also can be a very effective place to use a tuck cast. And a tuck cast is really a cast that's slightly overpowered. You have to have good line speed to do it. And I'm just going to abruptly stop my forward stroke and keep it high and let the fly tuck around and land first. A lot of times when you have a little breeze behind you, that tucking motion will plant the fly and the leader will be the last thing to land and it will buck on the wind and lay back upstream. So we'll do that one more time. That's called a tuck cast. Again, we're just trying to get a high line speed loop, and I'm just going to turn it over and make that fly land, let that leader buck and drop. Another great way to get some slack. You'll have to play around with that in the pile cast in a couple different wind scenarios, but having control of your fly landing first or your fly landing last, fly landing first in the tuck cast, fly landing last in the pile cast, is a really important part of fishing in and around the wind on Big Sky Country. Both of those will work for your upstream shots. So again, hope that helps you put flies in more fish's mouths.